George Washington is known as the father of our country. Washington was born in Virginia on February 22, 1732. When he was 3 years old, his family moved to a farm in Virginia called Mount Vernon. George was a good student in school. He liked math, spelling, and handwriting. In 1759, George married Martha Custis. When Washington got older, the American colonies decided they wanted to be free from England. They asked George to lead their army. He helped win the Revolutionary War, and he was chosen to be the first president of the United States. Today we honor George Washington in many ways. Washington, D.C. and the Washington Monument are named after him, and his picture is on the dollar bill and the quarter. George Washington is an important historical figure for many reasons. First, he was the general of the colonial forces in the American Revolution. After winning the war, George Washington was elected as the first president of the United States. In both roles, he had a major hand in crafting the foundation of our nation.
He's the president everyone loves. How do we know this? Because in America, we always carry pictures of him in our wallets, as many as we can fit. He's the father of our country. Some say he's the most important American who ever lived. We name stuff after him. We get a holiday on his birthday. But how much do you really know about our first president? Find out as we play the hit game show, Who Wants to Win a Million Pictures of George Washington? True or false? Shortly after being born in Pope's Creek, Virginia in 1732, young George chopped down a cherry tree, then confessed to it because he could not tell a lie. That's false. It was a story made up by an early biographer of Washington. True or false? George Washington had wooden teeth. False. They weren't wooden. They were made from gold, hippopotamus ivory, silver, and lead. Our founding father had a mad grill, yo. But it was something that made him miserable.
George Washington is recalled for many things, and one is that he had false teeth and he had a very painful dental problem. And there were several times when this affected the decision-making that he was engaged in.
True or false? During his days as a young officer in the French and Indian War, Washington was such a hands-on soldier that he even designed the uniforms worn by his men. True. Work it, George Washington, work it. True or false? All of these presidential firsts occurred during the 2 terms of Washington's presidency from 1789 to 1797. The first veto, the first federal bank, the first federal building, the original U.S. Capitol. All true. Come on, he was the first president. Everything was a first. True or false? Being a military man meant that President Washington was ready to fight to prove the strength of our nation. That's a false. Washington actually signed a proclamation of neutrality, declaring that America would not take sides in the war between Britain and France. Thank you very much. And finally, in 1796, President Washington became the first president to refuse a 3rd term. Yep, in fact, the man who refused to be king once got some props from a man who was king.
King George III said, if he really does that, then he's the greatest man in the world. To voluntarily renounce power was to demonstrate that American democracy was real.
To review, George Washington was the hero of the Revolutionary War. He set standards for future presidents, and he kept the United States neutral in the wars between Britain and France.